Welcome to our video discussion for today. From Liba, Batangas, I am Teacher Sara Muto, together with Ms. Cal Sebastian from Tondo, Manila. I have a question, class. Minsan bang naisip nyo nang gawin ang mga sira nyong damit, ngunit hindi nyo alam kung paano ito gawin? O may mga time naman na gusto mong kumita ng pera sa pamamagitan lamang ng sinulit at karayom, ngunit hindi nyo naman alam kung paano ito simulan. Kaya ngayong araw, tatalakayin natin ang iba't ibang uri ng klaseng tahi ng ating damit at ang mga hakbang kung paano nga ba ito ating gagawin. Kaya makinig lamang hanggang sa dulo. And our lesson for today is the basic hand stitches. And this is our objectives for today. First, arrange step by step in conducting hand stitches. Second, display subjective conclusions in answering the suitable stitch to turn your clothes. And lastly, create a hand stitch in the ripped clothes using needle and thread. And these are the following materials we need in our lesson for today: needles, clothes, pin, threads, scissors, feet cushions, and seams. Before we start our discussion for today, let us have an icebreaker, and we'll call it Guess the Sewing Tool. And here is the instruction. The class will be divided into 4 groups, and each group has to guess what image is shown on the presentation. And the fastest group with the highest score wins the game. So let's start. First image. Second image. Third image. Fourth image. And next image is, and the second to the last is, and the last image is, very good, class! You seem to be familiar with the different materials and tools na ginagamit sa basic hand stitches. So now, we will identify the basic hand stitches and how it is done. First is the straight or the running stitch. Ang pinaka-basic at kadalasan nakikita na tahi sa ating mga damit, lalo na kapag ito ay napupunit or nasisira. Second is the basing or tacking stitch. Ito ay katulad lamang ng unang stitch, ngunit ang pinagkaiba nito ay mas mahaba ang tahi niya kumpara sa naunang stitch. Third is the back stitches. Ang tahing ito ang pinakagamit sa lahat na klaseng stitch dahil ito ay ang pinakamatibay na paraan ng pagtatahi. Ang pang-apat ay ang catch stitch. Ito ay karaniwang ginagamit sa ating hem or laylayan ng ating mga damit. And the next slide and other stitch will be going to discuss by Teacher Kaya Sebastian.
Fifth stitch is the slip stitch or blind stitch. Katulad sa ika-4 na uri ng stitch, ang slip stitch ay ginagamit upang tahiin ang laylayan ng ating mga damit. The sixth one is the blanket stitch or buttonhole stitch. So, ang stitch na to ay ginagamit sa pagtatahi ng mga botones at eyelets. Next is the fell stitch. So, what is a fell stitch? A fell stitch is known for a plique stitch, which is one layer of fabric, generally a folded or selvaged edge that is stitched to another. Next is the overcast stitch. So, this stitch is one of the several types of hand stitches. The purpose is to prevent the unraveling of the fabric. The last basic hand stitch is the whip stitch. Now, let us know what is a whip stitch. A whip stitch is simple stitch used in both sewing and crocheting. Now, let us proceed to the advantages and disadvantages of hand stitching. First is the advantages. It improves coordination, better control, highly potable, better for delicate fabrics, and preserves vintage techniques. The first one is it improves coordination because Sewing by hand requires both your fingers and your brain. More importantly, it requires the two to work together. Next is weather control. So, hand sewing allows for more graceful gathers, flawless corners, and the exquisite details that set your work apart from the mass-produced stuff. So, basically, sa hand sewing, your own work is your own design. Next, highly potable. All you need is your needle, thread, fabric, and scissors. There's no need to haul out your heavy machine for a quick and easy fix. Next is, it is better for delicate fabrics. So some fabrics are just sewn by hand. If they're prone to stretching or bunching, it's probably a good idea to spare yourself at the hassle of wrestling your sewing machine into submission and stitching the fabric by hand. Next is, it preserves vintage technique. Delicate and vintage fabrics are common for hand sewing to preserve the beauty and quality of fabric to carefully sewing it. Next is inexpensive. So of course, you don't need to use sewing machine. You will only need your hand to work on your fabric. Next is relaxing. Did you know sewing has been shown to lower your heart rate and blood pressure? Since it requires both mind and body working in harmony, it's easy to lose yourself in the work and forget about the stresses of your day. If there is an advantages in hand stitching, there are also disadvantages in hand stitching. The disadvantages are time-consuming and inconsistency. First, time-consuming. We all know that sewing by hand takes a lot of time. What can take only a matter of seconds on a sewing machine can often take hours when done by hand. Next, inconsistency. There is no way to make all hand stitches the same length and distance apart, and while sewing by hand can often offer more precision, then the exactness of the stitches will never be the same as a machine-sewn item. If you learn some basic stitches, you will be able to do embroidery, seams, and hems. You can make clothing articles and decorative items for your home once you master these stitches.